You're listening to RazorCast, USA's hottest podcast, bringing you cutting-edge interviews from leading industry professionals.
Hello, everyone. This is Liz Harvey coming to you from our studios in New York City, where we are dedicated to bringing you cutting-edge interviews from many of the leading industry professionals across the U.S. In today's episode, we are speaking with Stephanie Heintzeler. Stephanie is a German-educated midwife, a U.S.-educated doula, an acupuncturist, and she is a certified lactation counselor. She is known as the New York doula. Stephanie has delivered over 1,200 babies and has experience with twins, triplets, breech babies, and water births. She also works with newborn parents in their postpartum stage and holds classes and seminars for moms and dads-to-be. With a wealth of experience and knowledge in her field, Stephanie Heintzeler is widely considered to be one of the top doulas in the country. She is also a contributing member of our national network of industry professionals. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic, birthing philosophy. Hello, Stephanie. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So, to start off, what are the different options women have for how and where their baby can be born?
There's a lot of options. So basically, the parents can decide whether to have a home birth, whether to go to a birthing center, or whether to go to a hospital, which, of course, in the U.S. most women choose. But even the hospitals have a huge differences. So there's hospitals who just have a high C-section rate. There's doctors who don't have the natural approach. There are other hospitals or doctors or midwives who have a more laid-back approach. So not every hospital is the same versus another one. The next question is, do I want a natural birth, meaning no medication? Do I want a vaginal medicated birth, meaning an epidural? You know, that would be the case if you want medication. That's the most common one. Or do I want a C-section? So, you know, do I want to wait till my due date or after? Do I want to get an induction? It's not so much recommended to have an induction very early, but some doctors, let's say if a mother is a little older, if there's high risk, if they are twins. So, of course, you know, those are things that need to be discussed. So there's, a lot of options.
And many women would like to have a natural childbirth without medication. What are the various drugs and medications that could potentially be used during childbirth, and what are they used for?
You can start with light stuff. There are certainly midwives who work with homeopathic remedies, for example. Acupuncture in early labor can be done. So those are things that you can do, you know, from your side or choosing a provider who offers that, because that can be tremendously helpful and it doesn't have any side effects. If you use real drugs during your labor, what you can ask for is to get an opiate, which is like a strong pain medication. Something that's used often in New York is Stadil. It's something that's given through IV or in your muscle. Hospitals don't really give it, though. So it's, you know, they have it, but they don't like to give it. They prefer the epidural. It's easier. It's, you know, it's more money for them. And you know, it's like done and continuously. The epidural, though, is much more invasive. It's, you know, a catheter that's going to, like a needle that's going through the discs into the dura canal. And then there's a catheter put into it, so the mother continuously gets medication, but at the same time, because it is such an intense medication that numbs the body, she needs to get monitored a lot. Like, the blood pressure needs to be checked every 15 minutes. Some moms have the oxygen mask in their face. They get a catheter because they can't pee. The baby needs to get monitored all the time. The contractions end. So there's so much. It has this huge ripple effect. But it is, you know, the very main medication. In New York, there's a 90% epidural rate. With a doula, it's a 50% epidural rate, so it's much lower. And the reason is not that doulas are against it, it's the mom feels comfortable. And, you know, she's going through it, and she's like, okay. So that's the main reason. And so if you don't want an epidural, I highly recommend getting a doula.
Okay. And if someone wants to deliver their baby at home, what factors really need to be considered?
The main factor is what's the pregnancy like. Do you have a low risk pregnancy? It needs to be a low risk pregnancy. Both parents, father, mother, partner, everyone needs to be on board with it. So if the partner is not comfortable with a home birth, you shouldn't do it. You really need, everyone needs to be on board. For low-risk pregnancy, there's no reason to not have a home birth. It's, considered safer in a way to have a home birth than a hospital birth because you're one-on-one. There's someone with you all the time. No midwife would ever take any risk and wait until there's real problems. The midwives usually, home birth midwives do have a transfer rate of around 30% because they want to keep things safe. And if anything is a little bit off track, like a little bit high blood pressure or the water broke and no contractions for days or so, then yes, you might need to transfer. So UK or Netherlands or Germany have a much higher home birth rate, but at the same time, they have a very good rate in terms of natural hospital births because there's midwives involved and not doctors who are on the parent's side and who don't like interventions. So it's a very big thing to look at that too. The mortality rate is double as high versus Germany or the Netherlands, double. That shouldn't be the case, and it's not that you need a home birth necessarily to have a good birth experience, but you need to find the right provider, maybe even in a hospital, who, could do a home birth-like birth in a hospital. It's absolutely possible to just have a great birth in a hospital setting where you feel maybe safer because you just know there's a NICU next door or the C-section could be done. So it's so important that you feel comfortable wherever you are, your brain and your gut feeling is really aligned.
Okay. And what issues would be included in a birthing philosophy if someone is having a scheduled C-section? With a scheduled C-section, the good part about that is that the parents know. They know why. They probably, went through all options. Maybe baby's breech, maybe twins, and they're in key positions. Maybe there was a C-section before, and it's really not recommended to try a vaginal birth after cesarean and VBAC. So, is the mother comfortable with the scheduled C-section? Is it close to the due date? That would be great. So the birthing philosophy could really be to get the C-section as close to the due date as possible. So maybe the mom even goes in labor, but at least the baby's kind of ready to come out. And there's a few things that can be done, meaning you can take an oil into the delivery, into the C-section or OR, so that when you're nauseous, you have something that helps you. You could have your baby skin to skin. Some hospitals do that. You could lower the screen so you see quite a bit of the baby's birth if you want to. Of course, the partner can be in the room, sometimes even the doula. That can be very helpful. The mom could also get a vaginal swab to wipe over the baby after birth. NYU did a study, and they confirmed that if the baby's wiped with this, microbiomes that the mom has in her vagina, that baby will have nearly the same intestinal flora a month after the birth than a vaginally born baby. Versus a C-section baby, they don't have anything. So that, knowing that, can, try to have a sort of holistic C-section, as much as possible. And in New York, there's a lot of hospitals and doctors who are very open to that and try to do their very best so the parents have a good C-section experience, which is really amazing, an amazing change. All right, lastly, who is included in a birth team, and what is the best advice for making sure that everyone on your birth team is on board with your birthing philosophy?
So in the hospital, the birth team is very big. There's a lot of people who will be involved who the parents don't know, like the nurses and sometimes even the doctor who will deliver them, as it's a bigger team. A lot of staff will come in and out, pediatricians, pediatric nurses, and so on. Again, a doula, she's the one person who you know. So you hire a doula specifically. That's the person who will kind of make the connection between the parents and the team, because doulas know the hospital, they usually know the team, they know how to communicate, they know what issues could come up. And going over a birth plan with a doula can help tremendously. Not that we really follow that birth plan necessarily, but you have the set. This is where I'm coming from. So let's say a mother really wants an epidural, and, things go wrong with the epidural, whatever, the epidural doesn't really work that way, it's supposed to work, then we really know, okay, this was such a big thing for this mother that now we'll really work on making a good birth experience happen, despite the fact that the epidural wasn't working, So as a doula, then I really know, okay, this was the biggest deal for this mother anyway, but a mom who didn't even want an epidural in the first place, and then she ends up having one, she's usually better off when the epidural isn't working so well. She's like, well, I was planning on not having one anyway. So, it's very important to know where the mother is coming from, because that way we can really catch problems or, deviations easily. If it's a natural birth that was planned, maybe mom wanted to give birth on her hands and knees and the doctor doesn't allow it, then we can really, really try to communicate and make it happen if some doctors are really open to it. And it's really important to communicate beforehand, ask questions beforehand, like ask. There's a whole list of questions I give to my moms. Because it stands and falls with the team in the end, the team who's in the hospital room.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. We know you're extremely busy, so I just want to thank you for your time and your help today.
Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners across the country, if you are interested in speaking with Stephanie Heintzeler, you can either go online to www.thenewyorkdoula.com or call 917-399-2031 to schedule an appointment. And on behalf of our entire team, we want to thank you for listening, and we look forward to bringing you more top-quality content from our country's leading industry professionals.
You've been listening to RazorCast, USA's hottest podcast, bringing you cutting-edge interviews from leading industry professionals.